Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dave Sebastian, coordinator of mentoring arts programming with Wayside Youth and Family. I'm here with you once again, coming to you live from the home studio in Shirley. We are here today for our virtual open studio program that I'm super excited to bring to you guys a couple of days a week. I'm here Wednesdays and Fridays from noon to 2. We're doing different projects all the time. Today, we're going to work with the Inktense product, which is made by Derwent. I can show you that real quick. This is the product right here. We're using a couple of two separate sets of colors from Inktense. Clearly, this one. Clearly, this one came from. I got a long time ago. I've had this one for quite a while. I've probably done 7 or 8 pieces with it. This one I've probably had for about a month, and I think I've only done 1 piece with it. But that's what we're going to work with today, and we are. Whoops, sorry about that. This is kind of what we've done all the time. Like, this is a new project that I've been starting. This is about the character Plasticman, who's a DC character, formerly a Quality Comics character, invented by Jack Cole. But before we get right into it, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about my program and about what what I'm doing out here today. Obviously, I'm with you guys virtually because of the pandemic, and we're doing the best we can to keep things kind of going when we can't be together. My program is created by a partnership between Wayside and the Department of Mental Health. I am the coordinator of mentoring arts programming, as I said. My job is to create arts programming for the 97 towns of Central Mass, and for any young adult between 16 and 25 that's interested in working with me. Now, these programs here are open to the public, but those are when we're working in person, and part of that is because my studio is located in the basement of 68 Henry Street in Framingham, which is Tempo Young Adult Resource Center. Really great place. They're doing a lot to help kids, and if anyone out there is between those ages, 15 and 25, and you need something, please stop by. We do a lot of stuff from housing, employment, some short-term food. There's computers there. You can do laundry there, and they're there to help, in any kind of crisis as well, homelessness, drug problems. They're there to help. Now, right now, because of the crisis, these guys are appointment only. But give a call over there, if you need something. All right. So we are going to talk about what we're going to do today. Now, if any of you guys have been watching any of these, the last one we were working on for the last, I think, 2 sessions was a piece by Hieronymus Bosch. I wanted to show you guys how that one came out. This is the finished version of that. I had that in Inktense and stuff. I had that in Procreate. And so, we were able to paint a certain amount of it. And then once we got as far as I felt like I could go safely with inks and watercolors, we moved it into Procreate. And this is the finished piece that we created in Procreate. If you guys watch that, thanks a lot. This will go up on both Facebook and Instagram right after this live stream. So today, we're going to work on something brand new, right? So like I said, we're going to work with Inktense. And today we're working with the character Plasticman, as I said. And I want to show you guys a little bit about how I set up to do something like an Inktense piece. Now, Inktense are water-based inks. And in this case, in fact, all of the cases, they are freeze-dried to extract the water, creating a solid version of liquid ink. Now, you guys out there understand what liquid ink is, right? So this guy right here would be fluid inks. This is Liquitex. But these are the same. Like the deal with these guys is that we, excuse me. Hey, boy. The deal with these guys is that they freeze dry them, cut them into these small shapes, and place them in here. A cool thing is that these pieces are removable. The individual tiles are removable, so you can replace them. You can, in theory, change colors and stuff. I had made a few homemade versions of these before this came out because I like working with the blocks, but it's difficult because I'm colorblind to remember what every color is in a gigantic box of blocks. So this little card here shows all the colors in the box in order. So this really helps me to use those colors to paint. Otherwise, I have a lot of trouble. You see that this older one, the same deal. I have this, this card here that tells us the deal. I also work with Inktense pencils. I have my set here in case there's a color that I can't find. I have a lot of Inktense pencils. Here's the set of those guys, and I have multiple pages of pencils. So if I feel like I can't do what I need to do in the 32 colors I have laid out right here, I can swap over, or I can add some stuff from the pencils. Personally, I feel like it's a little overwhelming to work with that many pencils. I wish it was awesome, but it kind of is hard. So what I normally tend to do would be to pull out some colors I'm going to work with based on the concept, based on the composition that I'm working on. So if you isolate yourself down to a few colors, and then if you need to, you could do 10 colors if that's what you need, but this is about 150 pencils, and then these 32 colors here. So there's a lot of options, and so what we don't want to do is, overuse things or underuse things, or for me, forget which color is which. The pencils are a big positive for me because, of course, they have the name of the pencil right on them. Blocks, not as much, but that's why I keep the cards. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and begin working on our piece. This is the character Plasticman. This is a cover by a fellow named Alex Kotsky from, I believe it's back in 1953 he was drawing this. Plasticman is a very old character. He's been around since the mid-40s. Really cool old-time character. Funny he doesn't have the same press as the characters from that time. Superman, Batman, Flash. Those are, of course, the DC characters. So what I did here is I took a print of the cover of this issue, which I think was, I honestly can't remember what number it was. I think like 40. Issue 40. I liked this composition. I thought it was kind of interesting. So I think, so what I decided I was going to do is to take this image and recompose it to make it a little bit larger and just use the base outlines here to kind of create my own version of this. There's a great website called Covered. Covered is all different artists redrawing their favorite comic covers. You guys should get on there and check it out. It's a really fun site. So what I did is I took each of these prints and I covered the back in this water-soluble pencil. So water-soluble pencils, of course, turn to a gray wash when you put water on them. And so they really help because you can take them away. You can kind of hide them if you need to hide them. What I'm going to use right now to draw over it is this light wash pencil, mostly because it has a fairly blunt tip. To do this transfer, you need a kind of a blunt tip. So you cover the entire back in graphite of these pieces, then you tape them down and so they don't move on you. And then you just trace your lines. Now I have these mostly taped down, but I realize that there's a small piece moving. Tape I'm using is really typical painter tape, like nothing special. There's a lot of great tapes out there, but I would kind of recommend going with painter tape. It's very inexpensive, and it kind of does what all of the tapes do. Keep your stuff from moving around. So. And this tape is usually pretty good to get off of the surface that you're working on. Pretty good. So first thing, after we got that thing taped up, show you guys the logo. Plasticman. Maybe we'll use that. I don't know. So all you want to do is trace the lines that you feel like you'd need, to draw this. I'm going pretty quick, like there's no need to, get this exactly right, because we're just using the impression of it. I mean, I suppose that's not 100% true. Like, I often think, like, we want to get as much of the information into this stage here as we can because we're going to need it later. Like, I often finish this sketching part and then realize that I wicked needed something else. And once you move this piece of paper, it's really hard to put it back. Now, a good way to work on that, to make that work, is registration marks. And registration marks would be, we put a hole in each of these spots and we put a dot through it, and then you lay it back in. You can see that. You can also use like corner lines or something like that to get your placement. Slightly more work though, like now we're registering stuff. Like, I use that a lot in airbrushing. When you're using a stencil, you establish where the first stencil goes, and then you overlap the next stencil over that, and eventually you get your finished piece out of that. But that's really about that's where I mostly use registration marks and cutting stencils if they're multi-piece stencils. There we go. Gotta get, Plasticman's nickname is Plas. Because what else would you call Plastic Man for short except Plas? Okay. We need to get his glasses are really iconic. So you gotta make sure you get at least some of that stuff in there. I feel as though I've been reading Plastic Man without a doubt my whole life. He's sort of an unsung DC character somewhat, but he's also been in, I would say, hundreds of series and short series, miniseries. He's just really been around for so long, and he's been so popular. It's kind of crazy, How he could be so popular but not able to. Well, I was going to say not able to support his own book, but he supported his own book for a really long time, a number of different times. You want to try to keep your paper real flat in this part, because if it moves, then, like I said, it's going to move your sketch around. So up here we got to get this boat in. That's definitely a big piece of information. A little more boat. Glass's neck. Nothing's worse than when you're in a boat, someone pulls your neck underwater, right? That's going to leave a mark. I find sometimes it's easier to go backwards against the grain of the paper. It's easier to keep it flat, I feel like. I see this direction, I'm pushing the paper, where this direction you're kind of pulling it, I guess. Feels like a little different. It doesn't seem to want to pop up as much, which is cool because we don't really want it to pop up, we need it to stay down. Alright. Get a little with Plas's body. He's really one of the most out of control characters, because he doesn't really have a secret identity, and he just is Plasticman. That's his job. I feel like he's been on a lot of hero teams over the years, but nothing's ever really stuck, I guess. He's not really like a Justice League guy. that. This is his sidekick. I can't quite remember his name. Woolsey or something like that. And then one of the things about this transfer method that's kind of challenging is you can't really put in a lot of detail, although, you know, maybe that's the intention. We don't really necessarily want a lot of detail in this transfer because then we'll only have to, you know, kind of work it out. Get some eye locations on the monster. Sure. Some bubbles. Oh, we didn't give this guy any face. And what's cool about doing a transfer like this is that you can see, looking at your page, like if you look at it sort of to the edge a little, you can see that the where we've traced and where we haven't, you know, and like if there's something you think you're gonna need, now would be the time, you know. Some little piece of information that might help you to make it work a little better. It's just funny that there's a fish here. That's cool. This Woolsey guy can really draw. I think we'll use at least take a look at the top of the water, since he did such a nice job on this splash here. This is kind of designed to be quick, you know, like this isn't something that you're supposed to really work on. Just want to get some information. And remember that this is water-soluble graphite, so we're going to take almost all of these lines away and replace them with Inktense or ink lines. All right. So now we kind of take a look at, you know, what kind of happened. So a good thing to do is to just take off one piece of tape and take a look under it, because if we take all the tape off quickly, it's hard to realign, like I said. So what we're going to do is just take this bottom tape off here and take a look at some of our lines. I don't know if you guys can see, but that is extremely light. It's there, but barely. So I want to see if we can get, if we push this line a little harder, what happens. You know, I might be able to work with that. Yeah, kind of the same deal. So another good thing to do is once you've set up your transfer, you want to have it up there so that you can take a look at it, you know. Like, it's there, you know. I bet you guys probably can't see it because it is super, super light. Get my light as close as I can. But that's okay, because what we're really looking for is pretty light, you know. Another thing I'm using is this tough stick eraser. Stick erasers are kind of cool. They're real targeted, you know. If you have half a piece to erase, then, you know, you'd have to do it different. All right. So we're going to get right in to start working with the Inktense. One of the first things that we have to do is fill up our water brushes. So this is a koi brush, which is kind of a short one. And I take a squirt bottle and just squirt the water in there a couple times. Carefully don't miss, then you get it all over you. All right, we poke this guy in here, and we screw it back on. And then I usually just sort of activate it. This is a brand new one, so this guy's working just fine. Then we have a couple of others. We got this guy. We got to add some water to him. Also good to think about leaning back away from your paper when you're doing this. My son Max stopping by to say hello to us. You know how it is working from home, you guys.
Yes.
Here's Mac. What are you gonna say, Mac?
Hi.
Nice job.
And it did this. Hi.
It's pretty funny, man. It's pretty funny. All right, you guys, back to work here. So, what is really obvious in this is that the underwater part is green. So there's a lot of green going on in there, and that might not be a bad place to start. But I do need to go in a little with my light wash and see if I can give myself just a little bit more lines so that I can see where I want some of this stuff, you know, to happen. Like I said, this is cool because this gives us the opportunity to really, you know, put our own sort of spin on it instead of just transitioning the one from one page to another. Big monster. You could kind of draw a little bit, you know, loosely through here too, because we're going to wash out a lot of these lines. So remember, our monsters features kind of come out like this, and then this would be the not going to redraw everything. I'm just going to get in and try to like make sure I know where the lines I want to work with are. All right. Great thing about Plasticman is he's always been sort of funny, you know, like he's always been funnier than Batman, funnier than Superman. He had kind of, his deal is like, you know, he's a funnier hero than those guys. Those guys are really serious, especially Batman. I feel like, you know, give him some crazy forearm muscle. And then Plasta. Have a really stretched neck. Right? So now we want, we got some of this stuff happening down here. There's obviously a lot more work that has to happen down there, but it's pretty clear where things are going to go. We're starting to get pretty clear impression of where we want everything to go. So like this eye should get a little bigger, a little more monstery. Even here, I feel like his shoulder muscle should be much bigger. All right. Now we're going to jump up here a little bit and throw our boat in. Close, but wrong. his belt. It's really really cool, interesting stuff. How you guys holding up? It's coming along. We're doing pretty good. I'd say we're well over halfway finished with our outlining. Going a little bit darker than I kind of meant to, but like I said, it doesn't really matter because two things. Number one would be it's water-soluble graphite. Number two would be ink overlaps everything else, and it's permanent. So when we work on top of this, we'll be able to cover any of the gray that we don't like. So that is what we're going to continue doing. This time we got to get a little of, we got Plas pretty good in the boat. Make sure we keep his belt going the right direction. I am really good at screwing that up. This is Plas's other hand over here. I want to make sure he has a thumb. Go. Alright, now kind of want to see what we can do with this boat. Kind of goes up like that. Get our surface of the ocean or the lake, or I can't remember. The story, I think, is the beast of the swamp. So maybe it's the swamp. Another good thing would be to have a straight line across the front because the surface of the water is obviously a relatively straight line, right? So we take a ruler and we place it across where we want the top of the water to go. I'm thinking just below what we've done so far. A good trick to line your ruler up is use the sides of your pad. Now this line wants to be pretty light because we don't want really there to be a hardcore line straight across the middle of our artwork. But we do need to know where the top of the water is going to be. So that's where the top of the water is going to be. So now we're kind of all set with that. So now we can use that location to give ourselves some more waves over here. All we really need left to do is to get his sidekick character who is falling out of the boat. I think this guy would be me, you know what I mean? I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I would be falling out of the boat. In fact, it's funny, I feel like as a kid I love boats. Now today as a grown-up, not really as interested as I once was. This guy's got, I'll work on this guy's face in a few. His nose over here. Anyway, we just need to give him a little shoulder. I want to make sure we keep his knee. Nothing's better than a knee to tell you when someone's falling. You could really, all of us are like, your knees kind of boot out when you're going to fall over. Need to take this arm and bring it over to the rest of his body like this, so that he can place his other hand here. Bring this line up a bit to make him seem more like he's falling over. This is a massive eraser. I've had this eraser for 30 years, which might say that I don't make a lot of mistakes. Or it could just say that this is a really, really big eraser. Now, I was talking to you guys about the stick eraser, which is awesome unless you have a ridiculously large amount of area to erase. And then it becomes not as good. You know? I was thinking for a sec there to use the ruler on this boat, but of course the bottom of a boat is not straight. They're curved softly. So I'm guessing, so they cut through the water, you know, or something. Whoop. Trying to figure out, though, based on the curve, kind of, where the top of my little boat here would be, the other end. I mean, we're going to cover it with water, but I want to know where it is. So this is where it would be if it was a straight shot, but it isn't. So we want to kind of have it follow this line and go to there. Definitely not 100%, but I think that's going to work. I want to take this foolish line off of the characters that we just drew here. But we need it, so. Alright, so enough messing around with this. I think we have pretty much everybody, you know, where we need, you know, everything where we need it to be. Right. Okay. That's really just like a little impression of his hand. Just to know where it is. All right. So next thing I'm going to do is going to jump right in with the Inktense and do some washes. First one I want to do is the green. So I look at my list of colors here. I see bright blue, teal green, racing green. And over here. Oops. Don't drop your tools. Makes you look silly. Sepia. It's kind of a brown, I think, right? So maybe we'll start with some light olive, which is in the new set. I don't know about the rest of you, but I have literally endless cables everywhere in my life. So we'll go with the light olive. Here are mixing trays. Like I said, I need to keep this close so that I can read it, but the mixing trays are something I use often as well, you know. So we get a little bit of color and take a look at that. So all I'm doing is just sort of sticking in some really loose green. Now we want to cover a lot of this and try not to have it be too brush strokey, but we're also going to use a number of greens. You know, I think the water would be some different greens. Okay. Great thing with Inktense is that you can continually wipe some of the surface away using another brush. I have quite a few other water brushes. We just need one that doesn't really have anything going on. Yeah. Some little ones. Something a little small. So the one I picked out is actually made by Derwent. Looks like this. Every time I go to use these brushes, I just hose them off a little bit, make sure that There's no color from the last time sitting on there. It's also good to have a paper towel around for the purpose of drying your brushes in between color changes. I have that here. This particular brush, we don't want to have any color on it because this brush is our dry white brush. All right, so we can go back in and get some more of our green. And we want to, again, have some consistency. You can always add more green to our pile here. It does go on strong, so make sure you're paying attention to that. Because like I was saying, if you come in with your the other brush, you can wipe away some liney kind of stuff that's going on. Now this brush is going to pick up a little of that, of those colors, obviously, but I don't think it's kind of okay. So get in some of this color here. And we're getting a little bit of our background happening. Now we want to use this green and a little of this one. See if we get something a little darker. This other one is called Ionian green. I don't know what the difference really is, but okay. Now, like I said, with Inktense, we can go over this any number of times. We let this dry, and it's permanent. So then we can go right over it. Instead of watercolor, which this has a similar look to, is not ever permanent. So if you went back over in 6 months after working on a watercolor piece, you would find that it is still, not only is it still fresh, but you can absolutely activate that paint again. Which means if you did a great painting of a farmhouse or something, you could literally erase it. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not usually going back to a piece to erase everything. Especially if you've worked on it for a long time, like this is a significant undertaking, and here's this thing dying on you or wiping out on you, So a little more of our darker kind of green color here. Now it's always cool in swamps and stuff that they have like these floating ribbons of slime. Kind of drawn a lot of swamps, I'm a real big Swamp Thing fan. In fact, I'm sure we'll wind up doing a Swamp Thing piece before too long. There we go. Placid's hair is black, so we can always fix that. All right. Keep loading up. There's also kind of an interesting layering effect that goes on where you can go over it and like basically reduce its opacity, again. So now I'm going to swap over to just the Ionian green. See how different that is. And it's strong, that's for sure. I wish I knew who the colorist was on this piece because it's not fair to credit the illustrator and not the painter. A lot of great color guys in the history of comics. My favorite color guy in comics is on the Dark Tower. He's done a lot of things, but on the Dark Tower is where I like his stuff the most, and that is Richard Eisenoff. He's kind of a painter, and his stuff is really amazing. You know what I mean? So we got some stuff going there. This brush is a little small, so I decided to go in with this bigger Derwent brush and see if we can help, just bring in a little bit of more variety of greens. Hey, thanks for that like, whoever's out there. This is like a teal that we're going to kind of mix in here. All right. Just a little bit of... But remember, this is underpainting, so, you know, there's nothing saying that we have to, you know, really hardcore get our lines or anything. You know, we have some information. We have enough lines to create our characters. You know, we just gotta kind of go from there. Okay, so the big monster cat seems to be kind of like orange, I guess. To change colors, you know, you don't have to do that. You can literally just rub them off, like on the paper towel. I like to hit them with the mister. I use this mister all the time. We've swirl painted it. Take advantage of whatever you can. What we're going to try to stay away from in this is anything that is too dark, like our blacks or anything like that. So using this guy, I think we're going to go in and give our big monster some color. Thinking maybe we'll start with this mango color, which is a color I've used a number of times. I like it. It's kind of strange. I can't see the colors really good. But I do like some of the reactions I get from this color and, you know, that kind of stuff. I did a painting of myself and my dad this year. With it, and maybe I'll show it to you guys when we're done getting some of the color on this guy right now. Good coat of this mango. See, it got a little hot here. No, it's okay, because we're going to go back over that. This one is just about getting a base coat on kind of everything. Especially down here, we'll be adding a lot of shadow to our monster. Ugh. Also a good idea to kind of load your brush up. Like I said, these colors here are dry colors, so they shouldn't transfer to your new mix or anything. So you should be able to get in there and pull some out so that you're not getting the tiny amount you get in a little cup at a time. Especially if we're doing something larger. Like this piece is really going to be kind of about detail once we finish getting these general colors in. Alright, looks like we got most of this guy. His hand up here. I don't know if you guys caught that. You got to make sure that you always count fingers. It wouldn't be the first time that I put too many fingers on a character. Or too few. I feel like I've hit both quite a few times. All right, so I was just saying about changing colors. I have a trash can under my desk here. Not just spraying this on the floor. If I was in the studio, I would, because my studio has a concrete floor. My house, on the other hand, there's a rug in here. You gotta be careful. Just make sure you try to dry your brushes off as much as you can. I'm going to swap back over to some green because I missed some in this behind his head kind of area here. I'm going to see if we can pick up any more of this green. If so, great. If not, we'll have to grab some more. There you go. All right. Now we got a pretty good amount of green going, but I do feel like we need just a bit more. So let's poke around and see what other green we have. Let's go back with our light olive again. All right. Here I'm just trying to create some different greens and then to cover anywhere that we missed, anywhere that I missed here and there. Whoops. Don't want to get too wet because then you make a mess. This is our clean brush. Take some of this water away. You can also grab your wash cleaner brush, touch it, and you pull the water out. If you pull the water out, you get kind of more of a dry, look, which is totally great if there's too much. If there's too much going on, and you can dry it to pull it back from the edge, that's a good way to go. And you can always work on top of it again. Bring back that color. Oops. Just make sure everything that needs to be have color does, instead of it all being a lot of background. You know what I mean? I mean a lot of paper. Sorry about that. And creating some consistent, wave shapes and that kind of stuff, those aren't bad, to go either. Let's go over here to our friend Racing Green, which is, I think, our darkest green that we're using here. Put in a little bit more, waves. lot more green up here as we go, but I think we're going to hold off right there. We're going to use a different orange, the what this calls tangerine. Excuse me for one sec. Alright, so a little bit of a different color up here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take this really light sherbet lemon color, which is a really light color, and just bring it across the horizon here. Help us sell our characters falling out of the boat at sunset. Alright. That color down pretty good. And now we're going to switch over to a redder color. So cleaning up our brush is not as much of a big deal going from sort of an orange to a red, right, compared to other possible opportunities or eventualities. But you know, the colors are close, so it's not wicked important that you take every bit of orange off if you're going to put red on. This is not orange, I believe it's yellow. So here, the same as at the bottom, we're really just getting a wash in here so that there's a base to work on top of. I find my area around my desk is forever covered in things. I'm a multimedia artist and I'm creating these live streams every day, so there is some significant mess that comes along with that, and I'm trying to use different media oftentimes. I don't know if a lot of folks have seen my other videos. This, I believe I said it on my last video, but I was wrong. This is my 20th live stream on Facebook. If anyone is interested in what we've done before or what got us to 20, all of our other videos are at the bottom below this live stream. Go in there and check it out, and let me know what you think. Each one is long, but they're on there forever, so you could watch a few minutes of it today and whenever you want. I do most of my artwork in the middle of the night, so maybe that would be a good time for you to watch my videos. Not the live streams, obviously, but when I'm doing my regular art, my own artwork away from the camera, it is more often than not in the middle of the night. I'm going to kind of go back to this lemon yellow thing. Again, just really light and starting out. Just trying to put in some of the colors that I kind of want to be there once we get a little bit further along. All that looks pretty good. So now we got some more ocean, more water surface, to work on. So we've used a bunch of our greens. What else do we have for options in the world of greens? I think we've used really the bulk of them. Maybe we can add a little bit of this ultramarine and some green. So we'll start with the ultramarine, which is one over. Oops, I'm looking at the wrong one. That would have been a problem, huh? Don't really want it to be a lot of blue, just a bit. Alright, so what else should we put in? Plasticman's outfit is a real bright red. Maybe we'll throw a little bit of that in. I do think we need to think about what color the boat is going to be. So above water, I think the boat should be like a blue with a little black mixed in. Like a sort of a gray. So we're going to go with some blue. A little dark mixed in. What are we going to mix in? Yeah, there we go. Some blue. Our dry brush here to take away a little bit of this darkness. And again. I gotta run away for 1 second, you guys, alright? Be right with you. Sorry about that, you guys. Some days there's nothing you can do. Okay, well, let's get back into this thing. So we're looking at some of this blue that we brought in here. A little bright, but I think we'll be able to bring it down once we get a little bit more of this boat and stuff happening. So this is the color of the boat underwater. And this is our water surface. Oops. Dropping things. Okay. Alright, let's get a little more of that dark blue so that we can bring it in closer to the monster's hands. Alright. Alright, this is the color we want the boat to be underwater. So now we want to clean our brush off again. And switch to this blue with no black in it, right, which I think is our bright blue here. Mix it up here. Push it down a little. Alright. So this is the color. You want the boat to be above the water. Okay. But now inside the boat, we have this, but now I need to add a little bit of dark to that. That might be too much. Let's try that. Okay. Okay. We can add a little bit of this darker guy just for a little of the what will be the boards that make up the boat. A little bit of a shadow. Oops. All right, what are you guys thinking? We're getting some stuff happening here for sure. This curling that's happening here, I don't know if you guys can see that, is things are not supposed to curl like that. You know, like this is watercolor paper. It should not curl like that. You know, the best thing to do is before you start working on a page you're going to work on a lot, paint the back of the page in water. If you paint the back in water, it will curl dramatically less. You know what I mean? It isn't going to be a total solution, but it will bend less. It usually doesn't bother me too much. I usually just stick a piece of tape in there and it pulls the corner down. But this particular one is giving me some extra trouble. So I might have to use 2 pieces of tape. Hope everybody's doing okay out there. Missing you guys. I would love to imagine that Gene and Elsa are out there watching this, but I'm sure you're probably not. But you know, I miss you anyway. Yeah. You know, one of the things that's a problem with Inktense, and I don't know if you guys can see it right here, the white has gotten really, really messed up. Using it to add the blue. Now underneath there is the white again. So what I usually do is activate the white, activate, the top of the color, and then we just get down to it. Now I'm not just grabbing, super pure white. It doesn't really matter because there's not a lot of, you can't really use white on top of this, or at least the white that comes with the trays of Inktense. Like if we use regular, like an Inktense pencil that's white, sometimes you can get like an overlap. Let's try to see if I could grab one so I could show you guys. In here somewhere. I just got a new set of Inktense pencils, which the kit looks like this. It's like a 72 set. It's an awesome amount of pencils. I'm going to add them to that set there. But here is a white, white and black right together. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, that's cool. Derwent makes really, really awesome products. They're out of Cumberland, England. This drawing, hold on just one sec. Strange stuff. This painting on the front of the Inktense packaging is from Lockery Fine Art, which is a young lady who's doing some awesome artwork on YouTube. You guys should go on and check her out. She's really one of the kind of one of the premier artists on, I believe, that's doing live art on YouTube right now. I mean, I think that she does really intense work. In fact, I would say that I was interested in doing this work partially because she's so good at it and like made it seem possible. So check her out. I really like what she's doing. So now we're going to, this is the white I was talking about. I'm going to have it out just in case we have a place that we can use it. Get back in here a little bit closer. Don't think I'm going to need that right away, so we'll leave that on the side. All right. Itch and get back to work. I feel like on the live streams, I normally drink about 6 gallons of water, or 6 gallons of coffee. I don't know if you guys can see, my desk is really kind of messy. All right, so now we're going to go with a poppy red color, but we want to make sure the brush, it does not have a lot of blue on it or whatever other color you were using. Okay, so poppy red is over here in this tray. I have used it, a real lot, so it's totally killed. You can cut new, take a block and cut it to this size and stick it in here. Or you can buy new tiles and put them in there. Got like a little junk on there. So remember I said these are all just washes of where we're going to put detail. Plas's costume is mostly red. And he's not a huge superhero, like, a very jacked superhero. He's not a huge, dude like Superman or Hulk or anything. He's a fairly thin, kind of regular-looking guy, with the exception of being made of plastic. It's a difference. Plasticman probably falls in a category of sort of silly comic characters that I have read for a lot of my life. A few examples of those would be Gru the Wanderer, absolute genius if you guys haven't read that. I wonder what else. Let's see. Howard the Duck, serious but not serious. What else? I like Racket Raccoon. I read him for a long time. Some more silly comic characters. Not sure everybody else would know him, but Lobo. Definitely read a lot of Lobo. He's kind of not wicked serious. He's kind of less than wicked serious.